Our first speaker today is Mary Neitlich. She is a founding partner of EM Consultants and a leader in law firm marketing, business development solutions, and strategic planning. She has over 25 years of experience, and she provides attorneys and law firms with tools to grow their business and to successfully identify, court, and convert leads and targets into clients. She has a ton of branding experience. In fact, she's been an active member of the Legal Marketing Association, serving as the national VP and co-chair of the International LMA Conference. She's been published in many publications, including JD Supra, the National Law Journal, and it just goes on and on. Mary is actually a fellow in the prestigious College of Law Practice Management, and in 2017, she was inducted into the Legal Marketing Association Hall of Fame. Mary, welcome to the Law Firm Growth Conference.
Thank you. I thought I should unmute so people could hear me. It's wonderful to be here with everyone. Happy Tuesday. Of course, it's, always seems to be me that has to lead off the conference and set the tone. So no pressure here. One of the things that I frequently get asked is, how have you been in law firm marketing for so long? Almost 3 decades. And the answer is really simple. When I was 10 years old, one day I went to my parents and I said, when I grow up, I want to be a law firm marketing consultant. Yeah, said nobody ever. Law firm marketing didn't even exist when I first got into it. It was just when advertising was allowed. I was around when fax machines came in. And then email came, and we all know many partners that have, all of us who've been around for a while, were really resistant to that, but not as resistant as they were to when websites came out. And then, of course, we all adopted, and then branding came out. And there was a lot of kerfuffle about that. Like, is this really a thing? Do I need to do this? Is this going to just fade out? And then, of course, came more social media and more refined websites. And now today, social media has even changed again, with Google Analytics shifting and trying to get on that page when people are searching for you. There's a new tool that we're using where we use AI not to write content, but to analyze and find out how to get more people that are in your target market to see your posts. So things are morphing constantly. Today, we are going to have an interactive presentation. And I'm going to stop after each of 3 segments and ask for your questions. So you can challenge, and whatever comes to mind that you want to know about, I'm happy to try and respond to that. Branding is the strategic backbone of law firm marketing. And Alay has 2 articles that, if he hasn't sent, he will be sending with direct links to them so that you can reinforce what we've talked about a little bit today. So without further ado, I'm going to share and we'll get started. The question is really brand effect, is it effective? And does it have any kind of an impact? We know we know that, of course, it does. What do we know about law firm branding? Well, it's nothing more than a claim of distinction. A lot of branding consultants use the telescope and look out into the marketplace, and they're looking to see, what does the marketplace have to say about all of this? We use a different process, rather, where we turn the telescope and we look inward into the law firm. We will spend 2 to 3 hours collecting facts about that law firm, their history, their practice areas, their aspirations for the future, technology, how they deal with clients, how they deal with competition, how they deal with business development, marketing. Just imagine 2 hours, almost sometimes 3 hours of responses. And what we do with all those facts is we whittle them down to the top 3 to 5 most unique selling points. Those are the things that get said over and over during this 2 to 3 hour process. And it's finding them worded differently and realizing this is really the essence of this law firm. Excuse me. And so once we have that, we will create 2 brand stories for the law firm based on the same three selling points, and they're slightly different because we know that the firm might want to be a little more like this or like this. And each brand story offers 6 taglines or positioning lines. And once we pick a direction with the brand story and a tagline, we're then in a position to create these 3 to 4 sentences that are brand essence. This has to go on your homepage. I know we've all been to websites where maybe they're not even law firms, but just some are, where you get to the homepage and you really don't quite understand their practice areas, what they do. Sometimes law firms have just a very narrow focus, perhaps tax law, hospitality, but there's nothing right up front that grabs you and lets you know that. So a job is to take a tagline and a brand essence statement that coordinate together to compel and let you know exactly what's going on. Today, we're going to look at 3 different stories, 3 brands of 3 different law firms. And I'm going to show you different aspects of branding in each one so that it makes sense to you. And hopefully you can, after each segment, we will have Q&A. So we'll have 3 opportunities for you to ask questions, to challenge, whatever's coming to your mind about this process. The first story has to do with the firm's 3 to 5 unique selling points. In this case, they had 3. And finding them was a challenge, but it became eminently clear after we did a deep dive, and I'm going to share those with you. And then we'll take some questions. And then the second story we'll look at today has to do with how you can develop a new product, a new service offering, a new practice area, a new business. And if you have a clear value proposition and a brand, it should how it's applied to the website, to social media, and PR to make this new thing really ring and start to drive revenue as quickly as possible. And the third story we'll look at today was a law firm that had new leadership for the past 4 years. And it was time for them to have a nod to the old leadership and the old brand, but how do you meld those and make it meaningful? So let's just jump right into our first one. The first law firm is ARC IP Law. Their tagline they used was ARC, Accelerate Your IP. It was trademarked. But we felt that we could do something a little more powerful. So working with our web developer, Bob Van Elk, who I believe is on this call, Bob came up with a brand new powerful logo, which you can see is more, the colors are more vibrant. And he used the circle like the registered trademark kind of circle to, sort of make it kind of fun. And this law firm opted to do something interesting. They took 2 of the taglines and we made one a headline, intellectual property done right. And the second one was the tagline of the firm, we create enhanced IP solutions. So we have to pay that off. We can't just say that. So let's look at how we went about doing that. These are their 3 unique selling points. The first one, we plan IP based on the impact of each client's future growth and success. We stay in touch over the long term, acting as their outside general counsel. Finally, we get creative with each client's inventions, adding additional patents and ways to drive revenue. We are the inventor's helper. They use that phrase a lot, and I thought it was interesting. So when I got to know the firm and understood that these were their 3 unique selling points, Bob and I were able to work together to create a brand new website that was branded looking at each of these things. It was uncanny how important it was for their clients to really understand that they would take one patent and potentially make multiple because they saw ways to grow the business. Or as outside general counsel, how do they do that? Well, they don't do tax law, they don't do business litigation, but they have relationships and they sort of work with the client as the center spoke and make referrals as necessary and help the client. And they stay with them over time to hopefully find new ways to patent and other ways to expand to drive revenue. I thought this was really interesting and unique. So this is what we came up with as their brand essence statement that's on their homepage. A unique approach to IP law. Every client engagement begins by taking time to understand how to obtain the intellectual property that's most important to your business. We then accelerate your IP to obtain strategic properties that make business sense. Striving to go beyond the ordinary, we expand your IP portfolio in business in crucial areas. So this is what we call that brand essence statement, those 3 to 4 sentences that appear on the homepage. And then it clicks right to IP, more IP expertise, and you can read about it. We loaded their website with case studies because they do so many different types of IP law in working in different areas. And we wanted clients, potential clients, referral sources to get it immediately and not have to make it difficult to find. This is their homepage. This was actually Bob's idea. These were some of their original drawings that they crafted for different patents. And there's a slideshow of several of them to give you an indication of some of the kind of interesting things that they've done. And they've had a lot of media because they've done some really unusual kinds of things. And you can see the brand essence statement right here on the homepage, including their Accelerate Your IP, which was important to them to maintain, but it's no longer their positioning line. This is what it looks like when you go to the practice areas page. And on this page, every page, Bob thought of this idea of doing the definition of each of their practice areas, and then we go through the explanations. And so this became really important to use on social media, on the website, in all client communications, this information about their brand and how every page has something about it that shows you what their brand stands for. So that is ARC IP law. And I'm just wondering if there are any questions. I haven't looked in the chat, but let me take a look. Oh, I see that Ale put in the links to the articles in there if you want to copy those. And Ale, were there any questions in the question section? Oh, do you have magic fairy dust? How do you possibly get partners in a branding session to agree on a tagline? Wow, yeah, that's really challenging. And we don't use magic pixie dust. I wish I had it. It is really challenging, and it depends on the size of the committee, because sometimes you'll have a committee that is very large, could be 15, 16 people. Sometimes it's 2 or 3, and it takes a while to get people to buy in. Our goal is to get the brand line and brand story accepted the day we roll this all out to them. Sometimes it takes a partner meeting or 2. And there are sometimes, many times, 1 or 2 partners that do not agree, but over time, the brand just takes on a life and then everybody acquiesces. It doesn't always happen on the first day because I don't have that pixie dust. So let's go back to our PowerPoint. I guess I have to do this each time. Okay. It doesn't seem to be shared. It says it's sharing. It says I'm screen sharing, but yet I am not seeing.
Was one of your slides a blank screen?
It was, but I'm trying to go beyond that, and it's not doing that. It's not moving down. Stop. Try that again. Yeah, that's it, but it should go to the next slide, but it's not.
I can share my screen for you if you like.
Yeah, that would be great.
All right, no problem.
So as we're teeing this up, the second one we're going to look at, as Alea is pulling that up, is a gentleman who was a partner in an AM law firm, David Wood. And David was a very successful partner. He had a $6 million book of business, and he spent his last 2 years at Barnes and Thornburg transitioning that to the next generation of partners. You know, we all know succession planning is important, right? Everybody knows the why, but David actually does the how. And so he finally has a succession planning worth planning for. And the idea is he does motivational speaking to law firm for retreats, to partner meetings, conferences, and then firms will sometimes hire him to actually implement that, because we know how expensive it is to lose a client or a big book of business, well, in David's case, $6 million, he transitioned every penny of that. So that's kind of really interesting. Next slide, please. This is David's website as well on the homepage. And we have a video of David talking and explaining the concepts, which is good, especially when you're a motivational speaker and you want people to hire you, you want to give them a snippet. And he talks about that, but it's important to have that video right on the homepage. Next slide, please. We worked with an outside PR firm in addition to the website, applying everything to social media, involving clients, referral sources, in blogs, in quotes. And the PR firm was able to, in a short time, within 10 months from when we started, get him 10 speaking engagements. These are just representative. It's a screenshot of some. It's davidwoodconsulting.com if you want to see them all and read the ones that are not behind a paywall. And he has a lot of great blogs on there. And some of this happened from my connections with people because I've been in legal marketing for 800 years. And some happened working with the PR firm who did an incredible job. Next slide, please. And these are some of the speaking appearances he's done or are upcoming. We were able to get him in front of American Lawyer Media, their managing partner and general counsel, roundtables to speak about succession planning. And why were they interested when there's so many consultants that have been talking about succession planning for so long? Well, it's because David actually did it. And his writing is cogent and clear, and he gives away a lot of information in his blogs and in these articles. He's been on podcasts. He's had things republished in JD Super that he published somewhere else. He's just been really successful. And the key is because he had a $6 million book of business, he actually does all the marketing stuff, right? Like I don't have to beat him up like I do sometimes with clients, because when someone is used to doing that, it really has been very powerful and very helpful. So he's now starting his second year, and it's just been remarkable to watch his success in doing this. Do you have questions about anything about what we did with David, or how the PR worked, or how the branding worked, or was applied to social media? Okay, LA, were there any questions in the questions? I see one. How did you work with the PR agency to get David so many writing and speaking opportunities? It was a process. And then a second question came up of how we applied it to social media. We, because I've been in law firm marketing for so long and I've been in college, part of it was my connections with some high-level people in this industry who we connected David to, who immediately could refer clients to him. So that was one aspect. And then the PR firm, we coordinated every 2 weeks. We had a call. What are we doing for our business development? They don't do business development, but they had so many connections and were able to get him interviews with reporters. And they had some cachet with these high-level publications. And so by coordinating with them, that worked. In terms of how we did this on social media, it's an ongoing process. David is a thought leader, and I'm very lucky because he likes to write. So a lot of times we'll use a blog, part of a blog, to post. And then one of the key things that's important to start to get visibility and raise engagement on social media is to tag people that you think would be interested. So for example, David spoke at a managing partner conference, and he was allowed to, he connected with these people on LinkedIn, and then he would tag some of them, not the same people all the time because he has hundreds and hundreds of connections. And sometimes it's in a post for in-house counsel, because he also works with legal departments to help them to work with their firms to sort of create a succession program, because clients don't want to lose their lawyer if they like him or her. And so that became really important. And then Alay, there's a problem with the links. They were asking if you could send them out maybe via email because they couldn't capture them. Anyway, so that is our number 2 story. And we can now segue into our our next story, which had to do with a law firm that was rooted in relationships. So this is a 40-year-old firm, and this was their old tagline. They had a website before this where they used tree roots to show rooted in relationship. And then the two named partners, Ferruzzo and Ferruzzo, retired, and Tim McElfish led the firm starting about 5 years ago with a group of other partners. And they realized that over time, they have changed the way they deliver service. This is another brand where service became a huge part of their brand. They increased their practice areas. They increased geographically by opening up an office out of state. And during the brand development session, the unique selling points came up over and over again about how they educate their clients along the way. They look at their clients' big picture business and frequently bring other attorneys in, even if they came from one matter where another practice area might have been helpful. Like, for example, a business litigator, even if they were doing an M&A agreement, to be looking at potential problems to avoid litigation. That's not that unusual where a firm will bring in another partner, but this is part of their process. And they pride themselves on their intake process, which is very succinct. You talk immediately to the partner. You don't have to talk to a paralegal or an associate, and they get onboarded quickly. And this ongoing education and communication with clients became huge. So this is an example of where we rolled out the brand stories. They picked one, and we eventually settled on this next slide where you can see their new tagline: solving your challenges together. Notice the image where they connect. It's a connecting, but it's a little more digital, a little more contemporary, as opposed to the older stock image that they had before. And their brand essence statement: at Ferruzzo, we go beyond just relationships. We attract clients with novel issues, focusing our energies and legal expertise on innovative solutions, while educating every client. Our collective consciousness focuses on the impact and the legal issues on business and individual businesses. So you can see that those unique selling points of the expanding the client assistance with other practice areas or other business professionals that even aren't attorneys, but they're always educating and thinking. We had to give a nod, of course, to their brand before, rooted in relationships. And we tried to do that with this graphic image where we're connecting. And we almost kind of thought those lines in the hands looked a little bit like roots. And then we went to the next slide, please, where we have this nautilus shell, which you know how the shell starts small and winds and gets bigger and bigger. And this was to represent the expansion in their practice group areas. Bob thought of this image. I thought it was really creative. It's one of the reasons we've been working together for 14 years, because, you know, as a web developer and a brand specialist, we both understand branding and how important it is to be on every single page. Deeply rooted in relationships for over 40 years, we have evolved, giving the nod to the partners, to the history of the firm, but we've evolved, and this is how. So their practice areas, and then we view the depth of relationships built over the years as a cornerstone of our history, community legacy, and enduring success. And what's really interesting about this is their community involvement. They gave a small nod to it before, but we realized how big and important it was. It came up quite often during the brand development process. And what we found out was that not only did the firm volunteer time, donate money to causes, but that the partners, the assistants, the secretaries, paralegals, everyone in the firm seemed to have some community involvement. So we created a separate page to pay off this concept of how important our community legacy is, as well as our rooted in relationships. And we created the following page on the next slide. So we've always had a firm commitment to do more. So that double entendre of firm commitment, the law firm, and our firm commitment, solid firm. And this isn't exactly what the page looks like on the website, but it was the best way I could do some screen captures to show you. And you can see more at ferruzzo.com if you'd like to see more on how we branded the rest of the pages. And now this website, by the way, is not even launched yet. It's going to be in the next few weeks. You're getting a sneak preview, so you actually can't see the new one yet. And what I wonder if there are questions or issues that you're wondering about. Check out the chat. Let's see. Okay, one question is, for branding purposes, is it better to use one or work with an acronym of the partners, main partners? Oh, that's such a great question. So the answer is it depends. There is not one answer. It's become more trendy for law firms to name themselves, as a business as opposed to with the partners' names. And of course, we've all seen that consolidation of having 3, 4, 5, 6 partner names as the name of the firm down to sometimes 1 or 2. And so that's happening. So there's not one answer, but the real answer is if you have equity in that name of the firm, you want to keep that name, right? We're not going to change the name Ferruzzo. Even though the name of the firm is Ferruzzo and Ferruzzo, they just call themselves Ferruzzo. And that's the website too. It's ferruzzo.com. The other question had to do with, I have to pull it up again. How have branding efforts impacted growth and profitability? So once the website is done, we use the concepts to work with them. I'm a business development consultant. So once we get the branding, the website, social media going, we turn to creating sustainable business development opportunities. Maybe we're creating a new group, or maybe we're doing a series of focus groups where we'll pull in some clients and show the new website or portions of it. How clearly does this website reflect who you think we are? And we go through a few pages and get some feedback. If necessary, we will refine the website or the brand messaging, but it is a way to pull in 10, 12 clients in a single focus group, for example, to review that. Or if you have a new offering, you can use that same process. If you're in the hospitality industry, perhaps we start a group with your clients and non-clients, and you get together quarterly. One of your partners talks briefly about a change in the law or something that they need to know about, and then we roundtable. Not like this where we can't see everyone, where everyone can see and talk and have a conversation. And using that, if you're doing e-blasts, making sure that everything is branded, you're consistent with your colors, your logo, and tagging people in your social media posts, and using your hashtags in social media posts. And then, of course, the new concept of how to get clients using social media by using AI to do the analysis for you that we've just started using with our first 2 clients, because we've recognized and realized that Google has lost some of its shine because it's been so overused and because it keeps changing, as probably most of you know. The analytics on LinkedIn, on Google, on all social media, if you use Instagram, any of them, things constantly change. So it's a matter of really understanding and knowing about that. Let's see if I missed another question. How did the partners respond to the new brand, which incorporated, was the old guard okay with this? Well, the old guard had retired 5 years ago. And we worked with all of the equity partners. And the first time we came through, we only had less than all of the equity partners, and they weren't all that happy with it. They thought it needed a little bit of work. So we had one more session where we got together, looked at the unique selling points, and I created a few more taglines and wrote a new brand essence statement based on the conversation I got from all 6 of them. So it's not always a black and white, like, oh, isn't this fun? Let's rebrand the firm. It's work and it takes time. And as I said, sometimes in firms, not 100% of everyone is on board at the beginning, but they will get there over time. I remember years ago working with a very large firm that consolidated from 5 names to 1, and they changed their logo and their tagline. And there were some of the old guard whose names came off of that. You know what that was like, right? So it took some time. One partner went around the day before the rollout with the new stationery and business cards and went around to all the offices and took as much stationery as he could so he would have it with his name on it for as long as possible. So Yeah, that's how that works. And finally, if you are interested in getting in touch with either Bob or I, or you have questions, we are happy to help you. And I think that kind of takes us to the end of our time, Alay, and I really appreciate everyone's rapt attention. It was wonderful to have a chance to be here, and I'm here. If you have questions, please don't hesitate to reach out.